And from Neil, who talked about some of the stats that we're going to improve, is Camille Walker Banks going to help us improve those stats. She's a Detroit native with deep roots in the business, nonprofit, and philanthropic communities. Seasoned, growth-minded leader who has built a successful career across corporate and government sectors, and recently led the highest performing site in the U.S. for Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Business Initiative at Wayne State. She's now leading the expansion of NPower to the Detroit and Southeast Michigan market at an ideal time, as there is a demand for tech talent and lack of supply, creating a real opportunity for the Detroit region's young adults. With all of that said, please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, making her way to the stage, Camille Walker Banks. Take it away.
I love it. I'm great. How are you today? So, hello, my name is Camille. I'm from Detroit. I want to thank the Intermittent Conference for inviting me this year. I'm very excited and honored to be here. So my topic is preparing the next generation of IT leaders, engaging a diverse talent pipeline that equals longevity and growth. Not only does it equate to higher profits and larger market share, but also benefits society. Imagine if Detroit, Michigan, or Gary, Indiana, or Baltimore, Maryland, all considered underserved, but I like to refer to them as underestimated, communities in the United States. Imagine if they were able to create their own inclusive labor market with good livable wages, and the people are free to pursue their personal and professional goals. This is my blue sky vision, my calling. I grew up in a part of Detroit that once thrived economically and socially, right off 12th Street and Chicago Boulevard near Linwood. And I bought my first house, my grandparents' house, right there about a mile away from my parents' home, because I lived in that community and I knew that community. But I remember walking my young daughter to a candy store, local candy store in our neighborhood one day, and it was closed. And I looked up and realized that my community was in trouble. I was newly divorced, a young professional working as a financial analyst at KPMG in Detroit, and was moving up in the firm, considering opportunities in other markets, but I felt a little nudge in that moment outside of this little neighborhood store, a call, if you will, to do more in my community than soup kitchens and voter registration and sorority service projects. So I did. I decided to take a finance job at Daimler Chrysler, and then eventually took a sizable pay cut because I felt compelled to get into economic development and workforce development. I want to help people. So I took this job in this small municipality to get some experience and get in the game. This small municipality had a growing business community, small businesses lined up and down John R. I'll never forget it, how I felt when I got the job and I went in and had my first conversation with a small business owner. After that, I started to evolve and move into bigger spaces, and I took a job with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and Detroit was my territory. And I was happy about that because now I felt like, okay, now I get an opportunity to not only understand how resources are deployed, but to potentially bring those resources into my neighborhood, into my community. And then it went even further, this call, if you will, on my heart. And I started to work with business owners in the 10K, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program that was new to Detroit right after the economic downturn that really kicked our butts in a big way. Well, now that the small business community was thriving pre-COVID, I heard many large and small companies state constantly how hard it is to find talent, let alone diverse talent. Like finding a Siberian tiger in Detroit, or finding a Black person in Detroit is like finding a tiger, Siberian tiger. That's not the case. So now my call is to break down structural oppression facing young adults. I'm now leading an effort, a charge for an NPower that is designed to be a solution to move people from poverty to middle class through tech skills and training and job placement. So my little birdie, it still speaks to me. Jennifer Sobel, the criminal attorney that you heard from earlier, she set it up perfectly for me when she said, you know, when she got her call, if you will, she knew that she had to do something about it. And that's how you feel when you lead in your own humanity. So I urge you to listen to your gut, listen to that little bit of that little voice, listen to that little birdie that parks itself right on your shoulder and whispers in your ear that it's time for you to act. So I'd like to introduce to you NPower. So who we are. NPower is a national nonprofit that serves the needs of non-traditional job seekers and employers looking to hire diverse IT talent. As a community, we are sharpening our lens and heightening awareness around how much we can do to address poverty. The health and economic disparities in communities of color are glaringly and painfully obvious, and it would be disrespectful to revert back to our old normal ways of operating. This is a new normal where the rules, the policies, everything has changed. So now NPower launched this first class of students in January 2020 in Detroit, Detroit's new center community in the heart of the city. The arrangement was that each one of the participants from the age of 18 to 25 show up in class 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for this intensive 16-week training. Following that training, they would be placed in a paid internship so that they can use the training that they just received, the certifications that we pay for them to take, and now they're able to use it and gain some really valuable experiences. So 9 weeks after, we finally got into the groove of this thing with our first cohort, and I have the most outstanding team of people who have also responded to their call. 9 weeks in, the pandemic kicks out, so we have to go virtual very, very quickly. Now, although we have multiple locations around the country, because of this virtual delivery model, now we can be geographically agnostic. So with Detroit as the primary focus, and we're in the process of admitting 50 young people for the fall 2020 class. And I'm starting to receive applications from rural communities, which I'm very, very excited about within the state of Michigan. So what we do, we offer a free training program that prepares young people for a field in information technology. We're focused on non-traditional students, and that's the students that may not either have a little bit of college or they haven't gone to college. But I find it interesting that 70% of the United States opportunity youth, and opportunity youth are those within the 18 to 25-year-old age range, 70% don't have degrees and are stuck in low-wage jobs with no pipeline or career or wage increases coming. In Southeastern Michigan, this age group represents 30% of our population. Yet I can't tell you how many times I've heard small and large companies, as I mentioned, express the difficulties in finding talent. So what we do, our students are going through this 16-week in-class, but now virtual classroom experience. And then once they're placed into their internships, we are going to help them to place into full-time IT positions. And then at a certain point, they're able to come back to NPower to pursue more specialized fields in IT, cybersecurity, coding, cloud, and others. We offer, as I said, free, but it's hands-on training with in-demand certifications, nationally recognized certifications. And this is the opportunity for these young people to gain the skills that you need as business owners to actually expand your capacity. So here's some of the outcomes in 2018 that moved me to think, you know what, maybe this is the right resource for Detroit and this is the right time. I mean, underestimated is what I actually prefer to call our students, and it's because I was pleasantly surprised by the resilience of our young adults. Our young adults went through a shift in the middle of their training that resulted in them actually getting even more competencies. So not only are our students graduating, as we have an 80% placement or a retention rate, I found that our students also are thirsty. They're thirsting for opportunities. And I'll give you an example. We'll call this young man Randall. So Randall is a young man from Southwest Detroit, the son of immigrants, whose father was deported recently, and it struck a fear in their family that changed their mindset and basically resulted in their resisting resources because they were so afraid of being deported or losing their mother. Now, Randall is considered learning disabled slightly because he's on the spectrum a little bit. And he required a lot of care and assistance from our team, which they were ready to give to him. And they should be very proud that Randall was the first in the class to pass both his IT fundamentals exams and his IT certifications with high scores. And I understand from cybersecurity professional who volunteered in our program that he has the mental wiring to be a prime candidate for a cybersecurity position. He never considered that. So now here's the example of privilege or inequality. Finding a position for a differently able individual, an opportunity that would capitalize on his differences versus, or using this different as a benefit, is the kind of benefit of the doubt that Randall hasn't experienced. Coming from whatever school he attended, schools he attended in Detroit, he wasn't afforded a lot of the resources that his contemporaries in a Grosse Pointe or Bloomfield or even in Southfield have available to them. He was probably being, socially, economically challenged. He probably felt, and I know this for a fact because we had to rebuild him, that his skills weren't valuable, that he wasn't being valued, that he wasn't being supported, that he wasn't good enough because of this deficiency. But a person in another community, someone that he's competing with right now, is being told that that difference makes it their competitive advantage. Now, Randall, when we told him this in our program, it was the first time he'd ever heard of such a thing. And he believed that to be the truth. And as a result, he's going to be very successful. Anthony Richard, the young man who's here on this, who's placed here, is now in an internship with Microsoft. Wanted to also share some of the positions that our students do well in, entry-level positions. Please take a picture of this slide. So this is a reflective picture, if you will. Prior to COVID, we were in person. We have a pretty sizable group and very diverse group of students. And we've gone on tours together. One of these photographs is actually us visiting Quicken Loans, the business analytics department, and they were engaging with our students. But our students had a chance to really experience corporate environment and an IT space and understand the rigors and what's ahead of them. What's beautiful, though, about this photograph is when we converted to a virtual platform, it wasn't the easiest transition in that I realized that the digital divide is real, and we had to overcome some of that. But in the midst of the pandemic, a number of our students, their food and housing insecurities came began to be very prevalent in their lives. So as their new village, we had to act, and we figured it out, but try sending a cash app to an individual who's hungry, who doesn't have a bank account during a pandemic. So I'd like to give the US Postal Service a shout out, because thank you very much. You saved a lot of heartache, a lot of hardship for our students. But what's beautiful about this document here, this picture, is that our students are now equipped to work remotely. They understand the etiquette. They know how to work remotely. They know how to communicate in a remote working environment. And so there it is. Now we have even more competencies for our students that they've developed. So how can you participate in this movement? I have a few ideas. I've listed a few examples of how we utilize our corporate partners and our volunteers, even in a virtual environment. We will still have a need for guest lecturers. We will have a need for site visits, virtual site visits, mentoring, curriculum development, mock interviews. This is NPower in Detroit is an opportunity for you to get engaged and to address the inequity that we see and that we've been talking about. So now it's time for action. The first thing I would love to ask everyone who can hear my voice to do is to advocate for digital inclusion and access in your communities, especially those communities that have addressed or have a digital or a lack of digital access for those who are shut out. In Detroit, 70% of our households are not connected. There are 4,000 open IT jobs in Michigan alone, entry-level jobs. So how can an individual who doesn't have the networking or connection in their home compete for one of these positions and get themselves in a better economic shape? Well, we can advocate on behalf of those individuals. We want to get our communities to work, back to work. If there is a shortage of talent, how will you grow your capacity? How will you serve more diverse customers? How will you make more money? My second ask is to consider hosting an intern, hosting an apprentice for 1 year, or just simply providing an entry-level direct hire opportunity to empower graduates. Thirdly, we have a 40 by 22 initiative that is funded by Citigroup, and the goal is to advance young women of color in tech. So if you know of a young woman between 18 and 25, or if you're in another market that where NPower is and offers, and they're a veteran, please encourage young women to take advantage of this resource. And of course, as a nonprofit, resources and funding are always needed. I have a request though. Please take a picture of this slide. I want to ask each one of you to send me one contact of someone that you know in the IT sector. They could be Michigan-based or they can have remote opportunities, but they're seeking a talent pipeline that is ready, diverse, supported, and IT certified. Please send me their contact information or send them my contact information, because NPower has a solution. Thank you.